We continue with the 4 C's. Do 16 Fengfu. Location on the posterior midline directly below the external occipital protuberance in the depression between the origins of the trapezius muscles. How to find the external occipital protuberance is a hump-shaped projection on the posterior surface of the occipital bone on the midline and slightly superior to the craniocervical junction. Locate Do16 in a depression on the posterior midline that can be palpated directly inferior to the protuberance and between the two origins of the trapezius muscles. Generally, Do16 is located approximately 1 tune superior to the posterior hairline. GB20 is located at the same level below the occiput in a depression between the origins of the trapezius and sternocleidomastoid muscle. Needling 0.5 to 1 tune slightly obliquely in an inferior direction. Bend the patient's head slightly forward when needling. Caution, dangerous point with deep needling. No stimulation. Strictly no needling in a superior direction. Danger of puncturing the cerebello-medullary cistern. Also cite for suboccipital puncture. The needle should be inserted into nuchal ligament. According to some authors, maxibustion is contraindicated. For the action indication, Do16 dispel external wind, calms the internal wind and the Shen, nourishes the sea of Marrow, lightens the Shen. For special features, meeting point of the Yang Wei Mai, according to some authors, the Yang Chiao Mai, Sea of Marrow point, Window of Heaven point, Sushi Miao Ghost point, used for all disorders which are caused by external or internal wind and which are characterized by sudden onset, changing location and or intensity of disorder, involuntary movements. Do16 eliminates both exterior and interior wind. It can therefore be used for exterior attacks of wind cold or wind heat, as well as for patients for interior wind, such in wind stroke, epilepsy, or severe giddiness. Its capacity in eliminating wind in general makes a very important point to relieve headaches from liver yang rising, liver wind, liver fire, and acute headaches from exterior wind. Its action in treating headache is also partly due to these points being a point of the eye system which emerge from the brain at Do16 Fengfu. Do16 is a point of the Sea of Marrow. Marrow fills up the brain and this point can clear the mind and stimulate the brain. Do16 extinguishes the interior wind, opisthotonus, aphasia from windstroke, hemiplegia. Expels exterior wind, those having aversion to cold, fever, body aches, occipital stiffness, and headaches. It also nourishes marrow, benefits the brain for those having headache, dizziness, tinnitus, blurred vision. It also calms the mind and opens the mind's recesses. Those having manic behavior, desire to commit suicide, sadness, and fear. The essential question, the Yellow Emperor says, I have heard that wind is the beginning of the 100 diseases. What is the method of treating it by acupuncture? His advisors, Chi Bong replies, wind enters from the exterior, giving rise to shivering, sweating, headache, heaviness of the body, and aversion to cold. Treat it by needling Do16. Wind, which may be of exterior or interior origin, is a yang pathogenic factor that therefore tends to affect the outer and upper yang portion of the body. Exterior wind predominantly injures the head and superior portion of the body, while the inferior wind steers upward and harasses the top of the body. The governing vessel is known as the Sea of the Yang channels, and while many of its points are effective to eliminate both exterior and interior wind, Do16 wind is preeminent of this purpose. Its importance in the treatment of what kinds of wind disorder is emphasized in investigation into points along the channels by the Ming Dynasty author Yang Xinxi, who said that Fengfu 16 is indicated for all types of wind diseases. When pathogenic wind invades the exterior portion of the body and impairs the ability of defensive qi to warm the skin, there will aversion to cold and shivering. If defensive qi is deficient and pathogenic wind attacks, the pattern known as disharmony of the nutritive qi and defensive qi may ensue. The characterized by chills and shivering accompanied by sweating. The application of 16 in the treatment of this particular pattern of Tai-Yang wind disorder is emphasized in the treatise on injury by cold, which says in Tai-Yang disorder, initially prescribed Wei Xing Kang. If this causes agitation, needle GB20 and 16, then pre-prescribe Gucci Tang. Recovery will follow. If the pathogenic wind enters the channels and collaterals and penetrates the joints, there may be migratory ache and pain known as wind painful obstruction. In all such cases, 16 is indicated. 16 is of equal importance in the treatment of interior wind, which derives from disharmony of the Sangpu, particularly the liver, and rushes upward to the neck and head and brain. It is therefore indicated for headache, head wind, dizziness, blurred vision, upward staring eyes, and with stroke. Not only is 16 is able to descend the pathogenic wind from the head in such cases, but it is also an important point to nourish the brain. According to the spiritual Bible, 16 is a point of the Sea of Marrow. Its point above is the top of the head, below is a Fengfu, and when the Sea of Marrow is in excess, then there is lightness of the body and much strength, and a person's self exceeds the normal level. When the Sea of Marrow is insufficient, there is whirling sensation of the brain, dizziness, tinnitus, pain of the lower leg, impairment of vision, indolence, and desire to sleep. The wide-ranging effect of 16 on the head region is partly emphasized both by the statement of Su Xi Miao in the 1,000 Ducat formulas that 16 treats the 100 diseases of the head, and by the alternative name, clear-headedness, given to this point in the classic song To Keep Up Your Sleep. Due to the location of 16 in the neck region, the pivot of the head, as well as to its ability to eliminate wind and nourish the Sea of Marrow, 16 is an important point in the treatment of headache, head wind, and neck disorders. The traditional term head wind has two principal meanings. Firstly, it is used to refer to severe, long-standing and recurrent headaches, for example, migraine, that are recalcitrant to treatment, in contrast to single incident of headaches. Secondly, it describes a condition deriving from attack by exterior wind, which invades the channels of the head and gives rise to headache, dizziness, and division of the mouth and eye. Although primarily indicated for occipital Tai-Yang region, headache, as would be expected from its location, 16 is a meeting point of the burning vessel with yang linking vessel. This extraordinary vessel also links all the yang channels and specially connects with such important points for headaches as GB13 to GB20 on the lateral side of the head and stomach 8 on the forehead. 16 may therefore be needled in Xiaoyang temporal or Yangmin frontal region headaches when the primary pathogen is wind. As far as the neck is concerned, the ability of Fengfu 16 to benefit this region is emphasized in the great compendium of acupuncture and moxibustion, which recount how the great 2nd century physician who too treated the Emperor Wu of the Three Kingdoms era for stiff neck. It is related that as soon as what to needle do 16, the emperor was cured.